What's up, YouTube? How we looking? Coach Max here, back with another rebuild, but before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment to look at this roster. Maybe you've seen it before, maybe you haven't, but I'd like you to fix it in your mind. Commit it to your memory. Or at the very least, just try to remember what it looks like right now. Every rebuild changes up a roster, possibly significantly, but this time, when we're done, it will be completely different. Completely. I mean that. Literally. That's because the name of the game today is something I'm calling the Full Flip Challenge. King of the Fourth Quarter did something similar last week with his 15 trades in one season rebuild. Definitely recommend checking that one out. But we're taking things a step further. We're not spacing it out over the season, and nobody is safe. We're going to offer up every player on this roster for the best deals we can and see if we can come out ahead with a completely different lineup. Now, you might be thinking, but coach, a fantasy draft can do this for the whole NBA, and then everybody will be more or less equal. And you know what? That is both true and an excellent point. But I'm not looking to shake up the whole NBA, just the part of it that I happen to be running today. Plus, it'll be kind of interesting to see how the various changes affect things. Who will flourish? Who will fade? Can we wheel and deal our way to a winning record? Let's set it up. For this challenge, we'll be running with the Washington Wizards. While they may not necessarily need a rebuild, regardless of what you might think of their play this season, it actually makes a bit of sense. They have a bad contract here and there, and even some of the good players are thought of as overpaid for their ability. But most importantly, headlines back in November were saying that every player on this team could be included in trade talks. So I thought to myself the other day, what if we took that statement to its most extreme conclusion? Made it so that instead of every player possibly being included, every player was included. The only rule for this one is that every player must go. We can do this however we want. We can trade them or release them and sign new free agents. Anything goes as long as everyone on this roster is not on it before the games begin. We'll have 2 seasons to see if 15 new guys can do better than the 15 old ones. The goal is to beat last season's record in playoff performance. The Wizards finished as the 8th seed with a 43-39 record and lost to the Raptors in the first round, so this will actually be similar to my last video. 44 wins in the season, 4 wins in the playoffs, and we win. Alrighty then, let's build this team. Taking a look at the salary cap table to see what we have to work with here, the only contract on this roster that I really detest is Ian Mahimi's $15+ million a year. That is way too much to be paying someone who is probably not going to make most 10-man rotations, so he is going to be the first to go. Next to go is probably going to be Trevor Ariza. Now, I like him, but that contract is not great, and what I want to try and do is get under the cap as much as possible with some of the deals that I would have to make, so I can have a little bit more flexibility to do the deals that I want to make. To that extent, Otto Porter is probably going to be the next to go after that. Now, I can see why a lot of people say he's overpaid, but I kind of see it more like Otto kind of had the Wizards over a barrel. I mean, there weren't going to be a whole lot of better options to come, and he's young and he's good. He could be great, but I wouldn't be paying him that much this early. So again, for the purposes of the cap, he's probably going to be the next to go, and that should hopefully give us a little bit more freedom to deal Bradley Beal and John Wall for some really good pieces. As far as the trades that I would absolutely need a little bit of strategy to make, those are probably going to be it. I mean, I suppose I can trade Marcus Morris and Dwight Howard primarily for cap reasons. They're making a little bit more. Well, Marcus Morris is making a little bit more than he should. Dwight Howard, not quite as much. But, you know, they're still good. I can probably get some good pieces for them. Everybody after that is mostly going to be just, you know, I'll take what I can get and we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and go over to the trade finder and start making some moves. So I suppose I should be surprised by this, but really I'm kind of not. The Phoenix Suns are willing to take on Ian Mahimi's contract in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick. I don't know why they would do this, but hey, it's not my place to guess how the Phoenix Suns is run by 2K would do things, so let's just take this before they change their mind. And it looks like Trevor Ariza will help the cap shedding continue as Sacramento will offer up Yogi Ferrell and Frank Mason for Trevor Ariza and a 2023 second-round pick. I wonder, yes, it is the one we just got from Phoenix, so that does us something. I know both Yogi Ferrell and Frank Mason are point guards, so it is possible I'll end up just waiving one of them and picking up a free agent to help another position, but we will worry about that later. Let's go ahead and do this right now. There's also this deal, which is very intriguing. Otto Porter straight up for Hassan Whiteside. If it weren't for the fact that Hassan Whiteside is getting paid a lot, I probably would be leaning towards taking this deal. But it's also because there's this much more reasonable deal, and that is auto ported to the Knicks for Enes Kanter and Luke Kornet. Enes Kanter's definitely just fine as a center on a very reasonable contract. We might even be able to re-sign him if things go well. And Luke Kornet, I can easily just waive him and replace him for someone else without eating too much loss. And this actually does get us a little bit more under the cap for the time to deal John Wall and Bradley Beal, so we're going to go ahead and do this move. Alright, so I wasn't sure who to trade first between Bradley Beal and John Wall. Ultimately, I decided on Beal since he's a little bit bigger of a cap hit, and just as expected, there were quite a few good offers for him. But the one I'm going to be going with, oh, there's another deal, Bradley Beal for Mike Conley and a 2022 first-round pick. But the one I'm going to deal with is this one, Bradley Beal for a 2019 first-round pick and John Collins. This is an insane deal in my opinion. You saw that John Collins did get pretty good in my last video, so we're going to go ahead and run with him once more. Okay, I have to admit, seeing some of the offers I'm getting for John Wall and offers I was getting for Bradley Beal definitely have me in a little bit of awe. It's something I'm actually not really used to. Usually when I'm playing MyGM or MyLeague for fun or doing rebuilds or what have you, I'm not trading people like John Wall or Bradley Beal, I'm building the team around them since they tend to be really good and on decent contracts. So this is one of the first times that I'm actually exploring trading people that I wouldn't normally trade just to see what I can get. And the results are kind of surprising. Like, Philadelphia is offering me Ben Simmons and Wilson Chandler for John Wall and Jeff Green. You know, Ben Simmons is usually a guy I'm not looking to acquire. He's a guy I'm usually looking to beat. So seeing him come up in trade talks is kind of interesting to me. As far as other good offers, Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton for John Wall and Thomas Bryant. That gives us two good starters. I'm just not a big fan of both of those contracts. Zach LaVine and Bobby Portis for John Wall and Tomas Satoransky. It's another one of those things I really like. If I didn't have John Collins, I probably would do this. But, you know, I don't think Bobby Portis would be that happy coming off the bench. Again, not sure. It's one of those things I might consider if there's another way I can make it happen down the line. But the one I'm going to do is this one, John Wall and Jeff Green to the Jazz for Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio. This definitely gives us a good quality starting shooting guard, and Ricky Rubio is a good enough point guard to start if I don't end up finding somebody better. Considering I just traded most of the higher overalls, I'm probably not, but hey, you never know how things will pan out. So Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio, welcome to the Washington Wizards. So taking a look at the rotation right now, we're kind of starting Troy Brown at small forward, which, well, we definitely need someone better. So the next highest overall is Dwight Howard, so I decided to take him and see if we can get a small forward out of it. And it looks like the best offer we have for that is going to be sending Dwight Howard and Markieff Morris over to the Nuggets for Will Barton and Mason Plumlee. Plumlee's contract I don't really like, but he'll be a perfectly serviceable backup. The real reason I'm doing this is so I can get Will Barton into the starting lineup. So let's go ahead and pull the trigger on this one. So with that last trade, we have our starting lineup set. Now it's time to find some backups. Starting off, we're going to send Tomas Satoransky over to the Nuggets for Juan Hernan-Gomez. That's going to give us our backup small forward. Not a lot good there for Thomas Bryant, but Noah Vonleh does seem to be the best available that we can get that isn't going to be on a really horrible contract, so we'll go ahead and take it. Sam Decker and a 2022 second-round pick for Sean Livingston? Okay, I dig it. This is a very intriguing-sounding offer. Troy Brown Jr. and Jordan McRae to the Kings for Nemanja Bjelica and Troy Williams. You know, I also could have flipped Troy Brown for 2 firsts, but I think I'll actually go ahead and take this and keep rounding out the roster. We're getting down to the home stretch, which means there's going to be not a whole lot of great offers. For example, I could actually flip Ron Baker for a couple of seconds, which I kind of would be tempted to take. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and flip him for Ivica Zubac, and that way I have another person to kind of serve as an injury replacement or what have you. I mean, it's not even certain I'm going to keep Ivica Zubac, but, you know, we'll see how things play out. Alrighty, we have done it. We have traded out the entire roster. Let's see what we're going to be running with here in the first season. So in the backcourt, we have the Utah Jazz tandem of Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell. At small forward, we have Will Barton, and our bigs are going to be John Collins and Enes Kanter. Coming off the bench, we have Nemanja Bjelica and Mason Plumlee off the bench of Bigs, Tony Allen, who will most likely be playing small forward with this unit, and our backcourt of Sean Livingston and Yogi Ferrell. Now, while we did pick up Juan Hernangomez to be a backup small forward, I actually decided I'm going to send him to the G League since he's under contract for 2 years, and we're going to play the long con with him, and he should be ready to be the backup or possibly even the starter next year. As our injury and foul-out replacements, we have Noah Vonleh, Frank Mason, and Deontay Davis, who we picked up in free agency after waiving Luke Cornett. And as I said, Juan Hernangomez is probably going to be sent to the G League. Ivica Zubac will be our reserve in case we need to bring somebody up, or in case Deontay Davis is not performing for whatever reason. So that is our lineup. We're going to do a little bit more off-screen tinkering and setting training and all that. And then when we come back, we'll be ready to start this up. The roster is set. The rotation is set. The front office is set. All the plans are laid in place. The train is on the tracks, and now it's time for it to roll. Just like before, we're probably going to take a lot of L's in the beginning because our team chemistry is not garbage. It is non-existent. It is a flat 0 at this moment in time. Of course, that is to be expected when you trade the entire roster and not just more than half of it. We're going to go ahead and sim towards the All-Star Draft. Let's go ahead and kick it into high gear. Ready? Break! Alright, there's our first L, and wow, we actually got a win and an injury. I'm just going to leave the rotation as is for right now, see how it plays out. Okay, Timmy takes quite a while. There's another L. There's another L, and okay, this is the first time I've actually come across aggravating an injury. I mean, it is still a day-to-day, so you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead to the point where we simmed at. So unless something interesting happens before then, I'll see you there. So we're in the middle of December, and we were actually doing pretty good until this happened. Enes Kanter breaks his hand, so we have lost our starting center in the weeks leading up to the All-Star break. So that's going to put Mason Plumlee in the starting lineup. I originally had Deontay Davis in the G League, but I'm probably going to end up recalling him, so we actually have a backup on the bench here. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Hopefully this doesn't jinx us too badly. So about 2 weeks after Enes Kanter breaks his hand, John Collins twists his ankle. Ouch, that is now 2 starters down, and we're not even at the All-Star break yet. Thankfully, we do have a capable backup in Nemanja Bjelica, so I'm not too worried, but I am just crossing my fingers and hoping Donovan Mitchell doesn't end up going down. We're doing good, and I'm pretty sure it's because of him. I don't know what the stats are. We'll go ahead and check those once we actually get to the All-Star draft and kind of see how everybody's doing. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and replace him at this point, and I'm going to be crossing my fingers and hoping nothing else interesting, quote-unquote, happens between now and February 3rd. Alright, so we finally made it to the All-Star Draft. No new injuries have happened. Enes Kanter and John Collins are both healthy now, so we've got our full lineup back in action, and we've got a couple of interesting developments here. First off, no Steph Curry. I'm thinking he might have gotten injured at some point. We'll have to look into that. Also, some interesting names here. John Wall made it. That much was not surprised. Bradley Beal did not, which is a little bit more surprising. We have Nikola Vucevic, who's been a lot of people's sleeper picks to actually make the All-Star game, so it'll be interesting to see how many votes he's been getting, and if he does end up making it as a reserve. But one of the big surprises is yet another name that I have not seen in any instance where I've been doing any rebuild, and that is Jonas Valanciunas. I didn't think he had the chops to make an All-Star. I mean, he's a good player, don't get me wrong. He's one of my coworkers' favorites. But I didn't think he was All-Star good. But it's good to see a new name on the list. Just goes to show you that you just toss around things in the East, and sometimes interesting things happen. So let's take a look at our stats first. First, you can see our record. We're doing a lot better than I thought we would. We are 31-21 going into this point in time. So we actually might just make that 44-win mark this season, which is actually surprising and not something I was expecting. So to nobody's surprise, Donovan Mitchell is leading the team with just about 23 points a game. He is the closest thing we have to a superstar line, but we're getting good contributions from everybody on this team. Enes Kanter is putting in about 15 points and 11 boards a game. Ricky Rubio can be counted on for 12 points and 7 assists. John Collins can also be counted on for 12 points and 9 boards. And it goes pretty much solidly down the line here. So we're doing pretty good. We're getting wins, and that's the most important part. I don't necessarily need to have a superstar. As long as we're getting wins, I know something is working. Alright, so while we did hit a bit of a tailspin in the second half of the season, Our first half performance was definitely good enough to carry us to a 48-34 record, which satisfies one of our victory conditions. Let's go over the awards real quick. Kevin Durant is your MVP, averaging 26 points, 6.5 boards, and 4.2 assists. Luka Doncic is your Rookie of the Year with 17 points, 7 boards, 7 assists. Very good stat line for a rookie. Nikola Mirotic is your 6th Man of the Year with 15 points, 8.3 boards, 1.6 assists. I kind of wonder if he's actually going to get this in real life. I think I mentioned in my last video that I think he's actually been starting for the Pelicans in some cases, but, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Giannis Antetokounmpo is your Defensive Player of the Year. 23 points, 13 boards, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 2.2 blocks. That's pretty impressive. And Buddy Hield is your Most Improved Player with 18.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, 3.1 assists. If we check his stat line from last year, it is definitely a bit of a jump, but I wonder how much of it is that he's playing more minutes now than he was. I mean, he is playing 6 more minutes than he was before, but that is still a pretty good jump. Even if we go to the Pro 36, it is still an improvement. A lot of the most improved contenders that I've seen are doing better because they're getting more minutes. I'm not sure how much of that is a factor in things, but, you know, that is something to factor in, I guess. Well, go figure. Steve Kerr is your Coach of the Year, leading the Warriors to a 64-18 record. It's kind of sad that I look at that record and I think the Warriors might actually not get to that figure at this point, but that's still good enough to win in the West, so what do I know? Alright, moving on. Your All-NBA First Team, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. I did find out off screen that Steph Curry basically missed 2 months of the season with a broken ankle, so that was why he didn't make the All-Star team, and it's probably why he's going to be left off of some award lists here. Your All-NBA Second Team is Russell Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, LeBron James, Paul George, and Nikola Jokic. And your All-NBA Third Team is DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin, Luka Doncic, and Anthony Davis. Pretty good selections there. All-Defensive First Team, Jimmy Butler and Victor Oladipo, along with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Draymond Green, and Anthony Davis. And your Second Team, Drew Holiday, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Paul George, and Rudy Gobert. And your all-rookie teams, Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, Colin Sexton, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Wendell Carter Jr., pretty much exactly the lineup I would be picking, and most people are picking, I think. And your all-rookie second team, Trae Young, Marvin Bagley III, Michael Porter Jr., Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Mo Bamba. Alright, we are ready to go. Let's see if we can make it to the second round. Yeah, that seems like such a really weird thing to ask for, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. We don't take Game 1. We do take Game 2, so we're starting it off 1-on-1. I'm okay with this. Again, I'm still confident that we can do this. Alright, and we take Game 3. Do we take Game 4? We do take Game 4. So one more win, and we have won this rebuild. And we don't get it. Okay. I wonder if this is going to be like the last video where we're going to have to do it in Game 7. It is going to be like the last video where we have to do this in Game 7. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do this in Simcast, just so we can actually see if we're going to have to extend this video a little bit more here. Alright, so here we go. Let's go ahead and speed this up. It's really close, but it doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. We are kind of down in the fourth. We're down. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, yep. Looks like we're going to be going to the off-season. We went the distance against the Pacers. I'm perfectly okay with this. I mean, we're going up against Victor Oladipo in this case. So, alright. So we came very, very close to achieving our goal here. But I'm confident that we can actually make do in Season 2. So there's definitely going to be some changes. We're not going to completely flip the team again and, kill our chemistry, but we are going to make some changes. So I'll go ahead and see you once we get to a pertinent point of the offseason. Just kidding, because I had to show this part that, again, can be filed under things that I have not seen in any 2K rebuild or any 2K experience that I have seen in the 3 years that I've been playing this game. The New Orleans Pelicans, not run by me, not run by anybody, have actually won the NBA championship, beating the Raptors. They didn't sweep the Warriors. They went 7 games against the Warriors, and they took it. Anthony Davis is your finals MVP, averaging 22.6 points, 8.6 boards, 3.4 assists, 1.1 steals, 1.7 blocks. So this is well deserved. This is the first time I've seen the Pelicans advance to the finals and win it in any capacity that, you know, wasn't being controlled by a rebuild or by myself or what have you. And again, I made no deals with the Pelicans. The Pelicans have not offered me anything that I liked in any capacity. So this is pretty interesting. Just, we flipped the whole Washington Wizards and it led to the New Orleans Pelicans winning a title. How about that? That's 2K for you. Okay, now for real, I'll see you in the offseason. Okay, so here's something I completely forgot. We actually have the Atlanta Hawks pick this year, so we do have a lottery pick. I hadn't really thought about that completely going into this draft since we weren't in the lottery, so I wasn't worried about it. But there is a chance we can actually draft someone who's going to help the team. Just in full disclosure, I also usually use the auto-generated rookies. I believe I mentioned this last video. I use the auto-generated rookies because I don't follow college ball enough to keep up with all the talent there. So I figured let's just, let 2K generate somebody with a wacko name for us, rather than actually go with the college hoopers, because I wouldn't really have any advantage there. Although I'm pretty sure those created draft classes are actually probably better balanced than the ones that 2K gives. I don't know, let me know in the comments what you would rather see, if you'd rather see me use one of those draft classes or just, stick with 2K generics because you don't really care. Anyway, let's just go ahead and skip the lottery. I don't care for the presentation, see where we land, and we do have the number 9 pick as well as our pick, so we're picking 9th and we are picking 20th. So we should be able to turn those into something decent. This is probably going to involve a little bit of wheeling and dealing on my end, so we'll skip up all that, and I will show off the draft if something interesting does happen. Alright, so here's the rotations going into Season 2. Only one change in the starting lineup, and that is Eric Bledsoe replacing Ricky Rubio at the 1, Donovan Mitchell at the 2, Will Barton at the 3, John Collins at the 4, Enes Kanter at the 5. Ricky Rubio will now be the 6th man, and right behind him, Nemanja Bjelica, Austin Rivers, Alex Len, and Tony Allen, though that is going to be temporary. We do have plenty of people on the wings to replace him. Our foul-out injury replacements are Ivica Zubac, Yogi Ferrell, and Juan Hernan Gomez, though more than likely I will have him replacing Tony Allen once his morale picks up a little bit. Over in our reserves for right now are our drafted rookies, Ramon Aguilar and Junior Cardinal. I am going to go ahead and send them to the G League for at least probably the first couple months of the season, maybe all the way through the All-Star break, just to get their overalls a little bit up, and then we'll see where they're at and go ahead and put them into the rotation in some capacity to help us get through the last part of the season. So that's going to do it. I'm going to do a little bit more tinkering off screen as far as setting our system and setting up training, and then we will get this going. Unless something else interesting happens, I will see you at the All-Star Draft. I should really stop saying if something interesting happens between now and then, because it usually means something interesting like this happens. Enes Kanter pulls a calf muscle and will be out for 2 months. So that's going to put a very interesting crimp on things. Now, as far as my rotation goes, I think what I'm going to do in this case is, instead of having Alex Len replace Enes Kanter, I'm going to move John Collins to the 5 and have Nemanja Bjelica be the starting 4. So that's a little bit of a stronger overall lineup in my opinion, and it probably fits a little bit better with our system since Alex Len really doesn't do much. Honestly, I'd probably actually consider trading Alex Len for something. I may look and see if I can get something for him close to the trade deadline. But for now, this is pretty much how it's going to run, and we'll see how we do from this point on. I tell you what, Enes Kanter just can't catch a break. Ooh, I really shouldn't be saying that word considering the situation, but anyway, he recovers from his last injury, he's back in the lineup for about 2 weeks, and then he hyperextends his left elbow and he's going to be out for a month. It makes me almost want to just sit him permanently and just leave John Collins at the 5, but, well, I guess it's going to be back to that interesting lineup once again. We are still doing pretty okay for the most part, so I'm not too worried, but at the same time, You know, if the injury gods could just kind of leave Enos Cantor alone for the rest of this video, that'd be great. And I may have just jinxed it. Oh well. Oh, I just had to tempt fate. So the only good sign to this is it's not John Collins, but Bjelica is still a very important part of this rotation. So the fact that we're going to be without him for pretty much the rest of the season at this point is just kind of depressing a little bit. Just a little bit. I really don't know what to say here. This might be what costs me the challenge at this point, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I am confident, but I got to admit I'm, gonna be needing a little bit of luck here. So we've managed to limp our way over to the All-Star Draft, and I do mean limped. Right now we do have Nemanja Bjelica with a broken ankle. John Collins also has a foot injury that he's hopefully going to be coming back from within the next couple of days, hopefully within the week, and at this point we really do need him. But on happier notes, there are a few interesting things here. First off, Kevin Durant was apparently the leading vote getter for the Western Conference, so he's actually one of the captains at this point. And a couple of first-time names, Luka Doncic and Julius Randle both making it. John Wall still made it, which is also good to see. Victor Oladipo makes it once again, also good to see. I don't really have a whole lot of feedback here. I'm kind of still dwelling on those injuries that I suffered. That's the sort of thing that just kind of makes you wring your hands and wonder, is this going to be your year, or, is this, fate? Alright, so it's a good thing we hit that win goal last season, because we just missed it this season, finishing with 43-39, but still good enough to make the playoffs. Going through the awards real quick, Giannis Antetokounmpo is your MVP with 29 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. 2K Generic is your Rookie of the Year with 13.5, 3.7, and 1.4. Dennis Schroeder is your 6th Man of the Year, averaging 16.2 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 6 assists off the bench, backing up Russell Westbrook. Draymond Green wins Defensive Player of the Year. Pretty good amount, 2.5 steals and 1.1 blocks. Pretty good numbers, I like. Colin Sexton is Most Improved. He jumped up to 27.6 points. That has to be among the league leaders with that. And even then, he was good last year with 22.6, but jumping all the way to 27, that is pretty spectacular. He did play, almost every minute of every game for Cleveland, but, I'm not going to complain. When you're averaging that much, yeah, you kind of deserve Most Improved honors there. Coach of the Year is Brad Stevens, leading the Celtics to a 57-25 record, and that pretty much covers the main awards. Moving on to the All-NBA teams, your All-NBA first team, Damian Lillard making the first team this time around, pretty nice. Ben Simmons also making the first team, along with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis. Your All-NBA second team is Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Karl Anthony Towns. Your third team is Russell Westbrook, John Wall, Paul George, Kristaps Porzingis, and Marc Gasol. All defensive first team, Victor Oladipo, John Wall, Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis, with your second team of DeJounte Murray, Jimmy Butler, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, and Hassan Whiteside. All rookie first team is 2K Generics, followed by 2K Generics. So not even going to worry about that too much. Alright, so in the playoffs, where are we? We are the 6th seed going up against the Raptors, which is pretty brutal if I do say so myself, but there's also a lot of other interesting things. The Hawks made the playoffs as the 8th seed, the Nets make the playoffs as the 4th seed, which is pretty impressive. Cleveland managed to come in being led by Colin Sexton. Over on the west side of things, the Sacramento Kings crack in there in the 6th seed, so we've had some pretty interesting, swings around here in the playoffs. So remember, our goal is to just make it out of the first round. If we do that, then we have won this rebuild. I'll admit I'm not as confident now in our ability to do so, but I'm just going to put on a brave face and see what happens. Let's get this show on the road. We lose game 1, and John Collins is injured again. Oh boy. Yeah, this might be the rebuild here, but I'm going to be crossing my fingers and holding out hope. So give me a minute, let me see what I can do with the rotations, and I'll be right back. Alright, it's the playoffs. We can't hold anything back. The logical thing would have been to put Hernan Gomez or Bielitsa in for John Collins, but instead we're going to try something a little unconventional and risky. We're going to move Rubio to the point, move Bledsoe to the 2, Donovan Mitchell to the 3, and Will Barton to the 4. So it's... I wouldn't really call it small ball. I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of small ball considering I'm having Will Barton play power forward at 6'6". But you know what? It's the last, these are the last games of the season. We can't hold anything back. So if we don't win the next 4 games, it's not going to matter. So if it works, cool. If not, well, we were kind of the underdogs anyway, especially going up against the Toronto Raptors. So let's see if we can at least take a game with this crazy lineup. We don't. Can we get game 3? We don't get game 3. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and simcast this and see what kind of advice they're going to have to offer, if any. That would be simulated. Should have said yes there. Okay, so as far as advice, it doesn't look like they have much. You know what, let's just play it out and hope we at least take one. Well, we're doing okay so far, but we kind of fall apart in the 4th, and we came close, but looks like we lose it on a buzzer beater. That is a heartbreaking way to go out. Let me go over to the game log. Yep, Kawhi Leonard with the dagger. Oh, and he's actually the... Oh, no, So he tried to get a jumper to miss. We got out-rebounded, and then he dunked it to basically put us away. That is a heartbreaking way to go out. We were so close. I think injuries just kind of completely screwed us in the second season, but, can't really, that's an excuse. We don't want to really make an excuse here. But, we gave it our best shot, and honestly, I think flipping this team did kind of make a lot of interesting things happen. I mean, the Hawks are in the playoffs, even though it looks like they're going to get eliminated. The Nets took a game against the Bucks, which is kind of good to see. The Kings took a game against the Spurs. Let's just see how the rest of the playoffs play out here. I mean, we don't have a dog in this fight anymore, but, let's see what happens. Maybe something interesting will here. Boston sweeps the Hawks, no deal. The Kings took 2 games from the Spurs, and the Nets went down early. So, yeah, the series is no longer interesting other than... Wait, hold it. I did not notice that. The Mavericks beat the Warriors. 8th-seeded Dallas Mavericks beat the 1st-seeded Golden State Warriors. That has to be some sort of cosmic revenge here. And, the LeBron-led Los Angeles Lakers beat the DeMar DeRozan-led Toronto Raptors for what, like the 80th time now? Okay, if my friend who's a Raptors fan actually watches this, he's going to be really upset at me for saying that. But, we did what we... Well, I was going to say we did what we came to do, but obviously didn't. We fell just short. But, it was a good run. On that note, let's go ahead and bring it in. If you hung in there the whole way through, you rock, because only the great ones stay in the game from the first minute to the last, even through all of those injuries that we sustained here. If you enjoyed this, let me know by dropping a like or a comment, especially if you'd like me to flip another team and see if we can build on this and hopefully get a W next time. I am working on other challenges, so if this is your style, then hitting that subscribe button will make me smile, and I hope that I can make you smile too, because man, those injuries sure did not. Until next time, take care, y'all.